I think most of us in the startup space know how important it is to be careful about picking who your investor partners are. I think ethical considerations in the kinds of capabilities and risks that advanced AI models are going to yield will be one of the underlying areas of alignment discussions that you're going to want to have early with investors. Because as you advance, you're going to run into all kinds of scenarios where you will need to make trade-offs about how you're using data, how you're acquiring data, how you're using your models to gain certain business outcomes. And you want to make sure that whatever your philosophy and whatever your values are consistent with the people you're bringing in. Okay? So let's look at opportunity. So I borrowed this image from a presentation Andrew Ng, founder of Coursera, professor at Stanford, ex-Google and Baidu AI. An argument he makes about what it used to take to justify a commercial model for investing in bringing AI into your products and business. And he describes that it would typically take him a team of 100 engineers and millions of dollars and several months to do everything from identifying your data, putting it together, data engineering, building, fine-tuning your models before going to market. But with today's tools, especially generative AI and with your prompt engineering interfaces, what could typically take you a team of 20 to 100 and 3 to 6 months can be done by a single person in a few hours. In many cases, it's not an exaggeration if it's a space you've started exploring. But what that means is that many smaller business opportunities that did not merit an investment in AI capabilities now can adopt them because it doesn't cost as much anymore in time, funding, and expertise. So it means you can begin to explore a whole lot of new channels for going commercial. Now, while he shared some ideas he'd explored, one of those that comes to mind for me, and again, I heard this repeated over the past couple of days. There are a lot of people here who are passionate about, I'll call them neglected African languages. What I haven't heard from most people though is, if you build language capabilities for languages that most of our kids don't speak anymore, what really are you going to do with that? What are the opportunities around that? Now, what's neat is the cost of building these capabilities is declining, and so the span or scope of opportunities commercially that you could explore then also widen. But I'm really keen to see, as we unlock potentially 1,000 African languages and dialects, and I know 1,000 is not an exaggeration. In countries like Ghana, I know we have upwards of between maybe 100 and 300 language and dialects and variations, many of which you can't find a single book or movie in. But if real-time translation of content in some other language becomes more easily available in these other languages, what happens? So I am curious to know how some of the passionate expressions about reviving these languages can be translated into interesting commercial models. And this will probably apply to many more of you who are scientists and engineers looking at actually building capabilities and tools as a business. Here are 4 things I think you should pay very close attention to, right? So the alignment with academia, fundamental, right? And I assume that there's quite a bit of it happening here because a lot of you in the ML space are actually partly in academia or coming out of academia and going into your startups. The second has to do with where are you finding data that represents large-scale problems or opportunities that you can work with. And so that becomes an important consideration while keeping ethics in mind. The third goes back to where I started. I think every major business opportunity that works is based on some insight which you have, but that other people haven't understood yet. So it's called a weak signal. There's something you've understood. You have a deep passion around bringing it to market, but not everybody has figured out yet. It's somewhere in the future. But the generation of insights is also getting commoditized as data and knowledge proliferates. So with that, you also want speed, right? Iterate quickly, innovate constantly. Okay, and then finally, hopefully, when you do really well, you sponsor the next conference we're having. The most important asset, and I know everybody in this room appreciates really, is the data. I want to make a quick comment about what is a great product idea versus what is a great business idea. Because there are times when if you describe your product idea, people really do get excited and confirm that they would use it. But in many cases, by the time you come to market, you have a problem where it's not defensible, it's not sufficiently unique. So it's very easy for a large player out there to go, aha, this is interesting, and then switch it on. So you want to have a clear difference between what makes a great business idea, something that you will be able to control, right, and constantly improve. And in this space, that key asset is essentially a data asset. But we also know we're in a world that's getting pretty matured around data privacy and protection, not only in regulation and law, but also in the tools and platforms that regulators have out there. Think of the huge EU fines and stuff like that. So it's not just having or claiming to have a data asset that's key, but obviously being able to demonstrate how you source your data and the fact that you have consent to use it for the purpose of your business. That's also really key. And then my last two, dependency control, security, privacy. Obviously, we need to step up how much we're investing in securing and managing who can access the data assets as they become more significant. But also, your ability as a business to be able to work with, modify, access, control, treat the data that's the dependency of the service or the products you are delivering is key. What I'm saying ultimately is in a business model that recognizes data as its key assets, you're going to need to demonstrate all these facets, not only initially, but to demonstrate that into the future, even with a regulatory lens on, you're likely to be able to continue to have the permission, the access, and the control to use those data assets in your business. Okay? So, in wrapping up, I was thinking about data. A business today in the age of AI is all about what data you have, what data you control. And then I was thinking about this whole passion about African languages. And so I thought about this in one or two of my native languages, and I couldn't find a word for it. So I thought we'd end by asking people to volunteer in your native language. What's the word for data? So let's go by region. Let's start with anybody from Southern Africa. So, yes. We take it back. Oh, okay. Zimbabwe, Swaziland, Botswana, South Africa, Namibia, Zambia. Anyone? Yes, we have a hand up there. So if you mention your name, the language, the country, and the word for data.
Raiseja Sefala from South Africa, and the language is Sepedi. It's Teddy Musho.
Can you say it again, please?
Teddy Musho.
Can everybody repeat that? Teddy Musho. Okay. All right. Let's move to Eastern Africa. Uganda, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda. Is DRC Eastern Africa? No, it's Central Africa. Yes. Sudan, Somalia, Eritrea.
Actually, I'm from Algeria, North
Okay.
Africa.
Sure.
And I will say a word in Arabic, a word about data, right?
Yes.
Okay, so علم البيانات. Can you say it again?
Can you say it again, please?
علم البيانات.
One more time.
علم
علم
البيانات means
بيانات.
like data or data science.
Okay, everybody repeat that. Hey, some people were laughing instead of. Okay, so I hope somebody is capturing this so that at least we'll leave here with knowing how to say data, this most important asset. So we've done Southern Africa, Northern Africa. Let's move to Eastern Africa. Swahili, I'm sure, yes. But I'd also like another language other than Swahili because it's not one of the neglected languages.
Hi, I'm from Tanzania, and as far as I know, data in Swahili is called data. With the accent. But if you're talking about information, then it's called habari or
So,
maarifa.
Kondata or Tabari. Okay. Is there any other Eastern African language? Yes. A more neglected language. Swahili is very cosmopolitan.
In Swahili, I'm from Kenya, my name is Anthony.
Yes.
And Swahili we say taarifa ghafi. It's data with, it might not be really clean or cleaned up. So we say taarifa ghafi.
Okay.
In the Luo,
Luo, yes.
Luo, we say kwan, just numbers, kwan.
Kwan. I guess everybody can say that. Repeat. Kwan. Okay. All right. Let's move to Western Africa. So, anybody from Burkina Faso? Anybody speak Mosi? Okay. Western Africa, Igbo. There's got to be strong Yoruba representation in the room. Ah, okay, up there. I was about to say, okay, go ahead. And if we can get one more from West Africa, so somebody else raise your hand. So the mic will come to you quickly. Another West African.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm Anthony from Nigeria. Actually, in Nigeria, there are many languages. The three major ones are Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. So there's no central language that Nigerians speak except Pidgin. So in my own tribe, Igbo, data is data. I don't know.
Yeah, West Africans are struggling.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any way they call it there.
Okay. Shall we come to, are you Francophone? From where? Okay.
Okay, so I'll say it in Hausa. I wanted to say it in Twi, but unfortunately I am not an Asante. So in Hausa we say ilimin kimiyya. Ilimin kimiyya. Ilimin kimiyya. Meaning data science.
So I think we've covered the continent, and we've struggled a bit in having in our local or native languages a reference for what's the most important asset, whether in research, commercial terms, government, regulatory terms out there, but especially in a conference like ours. So I also get the feeling that no one cheated and looked for Google Translation's results. So everything we've heard is legit. Thank you all a lot, and yebe to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kofi Dazi, for the wonderful presentation. So fast forward, we are moving to our panel discussion. We have a panel discussion right now where we are featuring some entrepreneurs and investors and AI experts and even industry leaders, as well as enthusiasts of AI, who will be telling us more about their work and how they've overcome some of the challenges. So we'll call on our moderator first, Kathleen. Let's give her a round of applause.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session today. I'd like to invite all the panelists to please join me on stage and take a seat, and then we shall take it from there. And let's welcome them with a round of applause. Is Fatima in the room? We'll give a few moments for the panelists to get mic'd, but I wonder if we can start with just introductions for Jade and Darlington. Please introduce yourselves. Take 2 minutes, tell us about yourselves and your journey, your professional experience. Jade, let's start with you. Can we have the mics on? Shout. Let's wait.
Testing. Hey, hey.
Okay. Yeah, I think mine is working.
Hello?
Mine?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yay.
Everyone's mic is now working.
Except yours.
So let's start with self-introductions, starting with Jade and finishing with Fatima, please.
Cool. I'm Jade Abbott. I am currently the CIO at Lalapa AI, which is a African AI startup focusing on both research and products in the African language space. My history is in computer science. I always wanted to make a robot friend, and it turns out that I was just really interested in communication and conversation. And throughout my journey along the way, I worked on startups off the African continent who were doing NLP work, and learned that there was nothing happening in the Southern African language space. And so because of this and the conversations had at the Indaba, founded the Sakane movement, and subsequently Lalapa. Yeah. Continue.
Hi, I'm Hatem Haddad. I'm from Tunisia. My background, I'm a computer science engineering, then I did a master, PhD in NLP. I worked for many years in R&D and academia, and 2019 I founded iCompass. 2023 iCompass changed to another structure which is called Fair Connect. It's to connect people in a fair way. It's an impact startup and working on NLP, mainly for North Africa and the Middle East region.
Hi, I'm Darlington Akogo, founder and CEO of Mino Health AI Labs and Kara Agro AI. So at Mino Health AI Labs, the goal is basically artificial intelligence for healthcare. We want to democratize access to quality healthcare. So what this looks like practically is that we build AI solutions within the space of radiology, so medical image interpretation. We also apply to other areas broadly in biomedical science, so everything from, microscopy, molecular diagnostics to oncology, regenerative medicine. And one of our exciting projects right now is basically we are building a multimodal large language model for radiology and healthcare. So a good analogy is like it's similar to GPT-4, but for radiology and healthcare. And we are doing our own, continuous pre-training and then fine-tuning to be able to have that kind of dialogue. So this AI system, you can just give it any medical image and it would interpret it, give you a report. You could have discussions with it about the patient's health and any other stuff.
Hi, my name is Fatima Tambajang. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Fatima Tambajang. I'm from the Gambia originally. I currently work at NVIDIA, where I focus on our startup engagements, developers, and university engagements as well. I focus on Africa and the Middle East. Prior to NVIDIA, I worked in the accelerator space, working with different startups across the continent. And prior to that, I worked with a Ghanaian fintech firm.
Okay, thank you all. The title of our panel is the title of this session as well. So AI, accelerating growth through AI/ML, strategies, challenges, and opportunities for emerging companies. And in the conversation, we're going to cover these various aspects. We have constituted a panel of startup founders, ecosystem supporters, and we hoped to have some startup founders. We hoped to have some funders on the panel as well, but we've had some cancellations, and unfortunately that was not possible, but I still hope that the conversation will be fruitful, and given the diversity on the panel, I believe it will be. So, going into our questions. First one I have for you is, what are some challenges you faced either as entrepreneurs or funders in building or working with AI startups? And before I hand it over to you, I'm just going to preface the conversation by saying we'll do about 15 minutes of preset questions, and then we'll open up to the floor. So if you've got something or something resonates with you during the conversation, please take notes. Okay, for everyone. Okay, I'll repeat the question and then throw it to the panel. What are some challenges you faced, either as entrepreneurs or funders, in building or working with AI startups? Feel free to start, anybody.
Oh, okay. Okay. I felt like you are, okay, that's fine.
You have been nominated.
Yeah, okay. So I'll quickly highlight three. The first one is data. So, I'm founder of both Kara Agro and Mino Health AI Labs. For Kara Agro, it was quite easy to get access to data. For Mino Health, because it's in healthcare, it was quite challenging. That was one of the toughest things, especially coming from this region where a lot of health data was not digitized. That was one of the biggest challenges. The second one, eventually we overcame it, but the second one was the skepticism from our stakeholders. So for some context, we started Mino Health AI Labs 2016, 2017, and this was where even globally AI was still super, super new. So imagine coming to the healthcare, which is already a skeptical space, and then telling doctors in Ghana that, oh, we want to build AI solutions that digitize components of what you do. Can you help us? They're like, I remember someone even asking me, is this legal and is it even right for you to be using AI in healthcare? It's a dangerous idea, don't do it. The third point connects to that. So this really pisses me off a lot. But, you know, if you are starting an emerging tech startup in Silicon Valley or something, what would happen is that you would often get, you know, one of the bigger people in the space to maybe discover you. It could be YC, it could be some, you know, investor or something, and then they back you and then celebrate you, push you, and then, you know, you get the larger ecosystem, the domain, sector, key stakeholders and everything buying to what you're doing, all within the US, and then there's that expansion, the rest of the world hears about it. In a lot of African countries, it's the reverse. It took us winning over the support of all the international, you know, institutions and partners and funding agencies to get our own people to want to work with us. And I think that is a terrible thing. And I've spoken to a lot of startup founders. This happens a lot. I think it's one of the worst things we could do. We seek validation. The only way we accept our own startups is if they are validated by all these external bodies, and that is the worst thing ever to me. Yeah.
Thank you, Darlington. And then I'll look to Jaden Hattem to see if you can share anything from your experiences.
Yeah, so I agree about what you said. I will highlight one point, is the reality of the market. Whatever, you can work on your business plan, financial plan, etc., but the reality of the market is completely different. In Tunisia, but I think it's general in Africa, companies and government institutions, they use it to be technology consumers, so they buy a product, finalize a product. They don't have this strategy to do partnership with startups, to grow up with startups, etc. They want really a final product, they buy that and contact the customer service, that's all. Okay, so this is what's the biggest challenge. The second biggest challenge, at the beginning when I start, I said it's not the funding, it's not the technology, but to find talents that, because I know that our universities in Tunisia, the quality of AI curriculums are not that high, so what engineers that I will hire, I need to give them more time to get the skills, the knowledge, etc. But also in the opposite, in the other hand, there is the risk that these people will leave and go to Europe or US, and I think it's normal that the young generation, they want to leave. So to keep my team, so no turnover, but also to understand the market and the reality of the market, and pivot the speech in a way that stakeholders can understand what is technology, what is AI, and not be afraid about this technology.
Yeah, I agree on all points so far, and I think some of the extra points I want to add, and they were points that we were not predicting, and they had nothing to do with AI. They were to do with running businesses on the African continent. And so getting money into Africa, so you've got funders who want to fund you, and they can't because maybe your country just got grey listed, or maybe there's not the right banking support, or maybe there's some other factor that's missing. You know, not being able to export IP because there's some policy that's not in place. And so there are all these, you know, additional issues around just simply doing business as a startup can be quite challenging. Whereas, like, you know, in a mature startup environment like the US, they've spent a lot of money and time to really create an environment that supports startups. And so we need to work on what are these policies that can actually help startups thrive and make it easier for them to do business. And so that's kind of like some of the challenges just outside of AI and the product and what you're building that we've hit, and that have probably caused us more stress and headache than anything else.
So Jade, you've got us on the topic of funding. And I'd like to dig into this a little bit. In your opinion and anybody else's, what makes a startup investable?
What makes a startup investable is a clear understanding. Oh, it's two things. Number one, the team. So startup funders, particularly early stage startups, so seed round, etc., pre-seed, they're investing in the team more so than they're investing in the final idea. They need to know that this is the right team that's going to be able to carry out whatever happens, because a startup pivots every day. While you need to be able to show that you've done your work, you've got your model, you understand some level of the market, they're really picking on the team. And so being able to have the right team to show them that they're capable of, well, that you're capable of doing this is one key thing. And then, yeah, the second key thing was being able to show that there's a client for what you're building, to being able to show it's these people. This is what they're worth. And so there's actually a very long list of things, requirements. If you attended Pilanomi's talk, she listed about 20 things, but these were, I think, two key things that I would probably highlight.
Yeah, the team, I think investors, they look to the team at the first point. They can talk about financial things, that the Excel file, you have to put your numbers, etc. But at the end of the day, they look to the team, how the team is constituted. If the team is homogeneous, that they can work together. We came from IT, we don't know business, so we need someone who can understand business in our team. We need support from sales, from marketing. So if the team is well constituted, the investors will look differently to the startup, even if there is no revenue, but at long term, they can trust it and send funds for the startup.
Yeah, I think I agree with the point about team. Yeah, also, I mean, one thing is also how unique what you're doing is. There would usually be bigger people that have more resources than you do. So for an investor, the question is, what differentiates you from this bigger, like this larger people? They have more talents than you do and everything. So if you usually pick an angle, either the use case is different from what other people are working on, or at least the technique or approach you're using is unique, it kind of makes it, looking at things from the investor's angle, it kind of makes it a bit easier for them to then make a bet that you're not going head to head with, you know, the giant and trying to do exactly what you're going to do, because that's money down the drain.
Okay, thank you all. Fatima, I'd like to bring you into the conversation a bit more. I realize you don't sit at a startup, but NVIDIA as an organization is working to support startups. So perhaps in reaction to some of the challenges that have already been stated, what support is NVIDIA offering to startups? And are you guys funding startups? Maybe this is also a good question to cover, and generally just support.
Sure. So at NVIDIA, we have something called VC Alliance. So we partner with several VCs across the continent. In Africa, I think we currently have about 5. And prior to this conversation, I was literally in a conversation with a VC, and I also asked him, what are you looking at when you're looking for portfolio companies? And their focus was more so the team as well, but technical is super important. And they're not really interested in super fancy technology. They're just interested in solving practical solutions. So that was one of the things that they were looking at. They were also looking at startups who can build something with $250,000. So that's typically the tickets that they're writing at a $5 million valuation. And they think that anything above that doesn't necessarily make sense. And I think, you know, we've seen a winter in the VC ecosystem this year. So a lot of VCs are scaling back a little bit and reassessing how they're investing in startups. And they are looking for founders that are prudent, founders that can, you know, be scrappy, and so forth. And I think from the NVIDIA side, we have something called a GPU catalog, where we showcase startups to investors and analysts. And in order to get onto that platform, you need to showcase how you've accelerated an application with the technology that we create or with the technology that we supply via our partners. So from our side, it really goes down to technical expertise. and then everything follows from there. With regards to whether we invest into companies, we match the startups that we work with VCs according to what they're looking at. And some of the topics that are coming out, we heard generative AI, of course, and then languages. So a lot of people are interested in lowly search languages. So that's more or less the high level.
Okay. It looks like technical expertise is emerging as a theme from your different responses. And I think for the three of you as founders, you do have technical backgrounds. I'm wondering, what do you have, what would you say to someone who is not a technical, does not have a technical background, but would like to start or work on an AI company? Do they need to hire AI or ML people, or can they build on top of existing infrastructure, maybe tools, and run a successful business? And I'll preface this with a bit more context. Working in tech, I've seen, broadly speaking, two kinds of techies. One is the kind that is emanated with the technology. It's super cool and we want to build the state of the art. And then there's the other who is much more business savvy and will put something very hacky together, but with a mind to get it to profitability, right? So it's hacky, but then somebody's using it, somebody's paying for it, but it's not elegant tech. So where do you guys fall on this balance of tech versus non-tech founder, but running a tech business?
That's a good question. I think it's a constant. So I come from like both backgrounds, but I actually come from a hacky background. I was a software engineer, and so it was all about taking whatever existed, finding the latest of whatever existed, and being able to put that together and see if it could get something working. And I think that's quite useful because you have to start from somewhere that works. And I think from that point onwards, it's good as a person who doesn't have the technical background, you can still work with good software engineers because there is a lot that's open source and available, or not APIs that you can pay for and you can get pretty far with. But if you're looking to do something that's quite niche, of which there's barely any research in, or the research is still kind of in an open space, that's when you're going to start needing to hire more technical people. So it's kind of really a matter of how complex your problem is. But I think first start with, let's see what's out there and build the hacky thing with what we can. And only when we reach the point of like, okay, this isn't feasible given what we're doing, then it's a matter of finding the right people. And that just starts with coming to the Indaba.
Yeah, I think that if people, they don't have a technical background, but they have the motivation to learn and get the skills, it's okay. Today, I think there is no limit about having skills or a specific diploma to do artificial intelligence. In my team, I have different profiles, people coming from mathematics or physics, but they are good today in machine learning or deep learning. I think the key word is motivation. Motivation is the key for this.
Yeah, I would say the easy answer from me would be get a technical co-founder. Yeah. If again, I also agree, if it is not excessively technical, then it's fine. You can leverage some no-code platform, teaching, is it teachable machines and stuff like that. But if it's technical, then get a technical co-founder. Because the barrier to you having to learn, it depends. If you want to take a slow pace at your startup, then you can take the time to learn the technology. But there's so much value in a technical co-founder who understands like on a low level what you're building. It makes a lot of difference. Having even brilliant, engineers on your team and then the founding team is not technical, there's, a lot of mismatch, and that usually leads to like very terrible results. So having a technical co-founder is important.
Okay, so we have technical teams, and we're building in the space of AI, which can be very academic. I'd like to hear Fatima from a VC's perspective, is looking at organizations and whether they're building intellectual property important? Is this something that is considered? And then to the founders, I'd like to hear how you guys are balancing, if at all, what you keep proprietary versus what you
publish in research, and are you publishing in research? So where do you fall?
I think when it comes to the question of IP, it falls over my expertise, so I can't add much value to it. But what I can say is kind of piggybacking off to what Darlington said before, between the technical founder and not, if you don't have a technical founder, you see mismatch within the engineers that you're managing, because that's an issue that we've seen with some of the startups that we're working with when it comes to our ecosystem. Now, when it comes to IP law, there's a lot of information around it, but I wouldn't be the right person to answer that question. So interesting to hearing the perspective of the panelist.
Are you guys publishing? And how are you navigating what you make open? And I think there is value in being seen as a leader in the field, especially I think like Jade mentioned, if you're building something very niche where the research is nascent, you want to show up as a leader, but you're also looking to make money and productize or monetize what it is you're building. So how are you striking a balance?
I mean, I think we're still early enough to say we are figuring that one out. Thankfully, we have a bunch of people who are publishing anyway, just in their academic life or personal capacity through the various communities that they've been involved in. And so as a team, we've been publishing, and often we get to bring in some of the work that they've worked into what we do. And so right now, because we're so early in our journey, what we're really looking to do is like, let's get the first version of the product out in some form or another. And then we are going to probably rope that higher into our research agenda. We've started on it. We kind of know what directions. We've got all the high-level, long-term strategic plans for it. But actually, there is quite a challenge kind of fitting it into the prioritization, actually. And so research is something we love doing and something we actively need to be doing in order to achieve our business. And we, as part of the research ecosystem, would be publishing when we get there.
Yeah, since we are working in a field that very few companies are working on it, so we need to do R&D, and doing R&D means also publishing papers. Today, VCs, they see also that publishing papers is very good for the company when you want to fundraise, but also for the IP. When you submit an IP, you need to show also that you have this skills, you have this knowledge to produce something which is new. I'm lucky to be professor and founder of a company, so I create like a pipeline in my startup. There is R&D department, so the idea will come from there, do prototyping, testing. If we have enough good results, then we go to the prod department, and they will create the service or the product. So two different, but R&D, I think it's very important for us, for our field, because it's from there where ideas will come, and to prove the ideas, you need also to publish. And publishing, it's also to have a feedback from the community if your idea is a good idea and if what you are doing is good for the field.
Yeah, I would say it's all about modes. So it's kind of tricky as you characterize it, right? Because AI company sort of sits between the space of, R&D, but also a business. And I like how, some of the companies, I know there are people from OpenAI and DeepMind here. I like how they, characterize this by saying, oh, we don't want to share this because, it's dangerous technology. No, you're protecting your trade secret. It's totally okay to admit that. You're a business, you're protecting your moat. It has nothing to do with, AI safety.
Yeah, I agree.
So, which is the point? So, the differentiating factor as far as what you share and what you keep to yourself is this a moat? Is this a trade secret? Is this something that gives me a business advantage? If it gives you a business advantage, you keep it. If it's something that if you share, you don't lose so much from a business angle, then you share it. So we published a paper which is like, if not possibly the first AI clinical study that compares, an AI system with like medical doctors. And in that paper, we shared the result of that study and everything, but we didn't go into details as far as, what we what layers is in our model, how we set up the model and everything, because that's a trade secret and it's of business advantage to keep that to ourselves. So yeah, that's the balance there.
Okay. So something that came out of Hatem's response is the R&D cycle, this process of going from research to productization. And I'm just wondering, from any of the other panelists, do you have anything to add? How can we go from research to productizing?
I think part of it is we like to ground our research questions in what's needed in the product and what you're seeing in the product. So like, yeah, the product, you're getting feedback on it and you start learning about what is missing and what isn't available, and you then often find gaps in the research that aren't able to do that. And you use that to then direct what sort of research topics you're working on. And the team who's then been building the baseline models are now suddenly researchers and well, they are researchers the whole time, but they're now focusing more on this kind of novel research to tackle those sort of problems. I think the pipeline, if we're talking from a talent perspective, has been really through the communities who have been working on these topics and have been doing research in the space for a while, through the Indaba, and that's where we don't see that there's a lack of talent because we're like, oh, it's here. So very natural feed for any research hires we need to make.
What I'll add to that would be rigorous evaluation. So this whole space of machine learning auditing. Because one interesting thing we realize is that, when you take some data and, you try some cool technique, build a model, you can get super high AUC, and for most people that are publishing paper, it stops there. But then if you take those models to like real world situation, they always like,
they will always
SH asterisk T themselves. They always perform terribly.
And they'll break in the funnest ways, in the most horrifying ways.
Exactly. So the key difference is that pipeline of, machine learning auditing, rigorous evaluation where you are testing these techniques in the real world. It helps you narrow down, cool, fancy ideas that, you could publish papers on and what actually ends up working in the real world. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to see if we have any questions from the audience yet. We have some hands. Yay! Can we get a mic going round?
Thank you very much for a very rich conversation so far. Going to the issue that was raised about not really getting support and recognition locally until that external validation comes. Do you think it's related to not having enough expertise in our should I say, government and public policy circles in terms of actually understanding this technology, and so not really knowing whether people are just spinning words or say, not having the tools to actually evaluate whether this makes any sense and whether it's good. And so, only when that external validation comes does the confidence come. And if so, thinking long term, of course, I'm an educator, right? How can we change that? How can we have a knowledgeable or people knowledgeable in AI, tech, etc., within our government structures or within the relevant structures in our country, so that we don't need to look first at external validation, but feel that we have the confidence in being able to evaluate whether things are promising.
I think it's a blame game. So it's the no one gets fired for hiring McKinsey story, right? No one gets fired for working with the company that's been invested by XYZ, because they can always go, but XYZ invested in them, so, we trusted them and then they wouldn't get fired. So that's my theory. I don't really have a solution about it right now. It's mostly because the entire thing just makes me angry. So.
Maybe someone else on the panel is less angry, can think of solutions.
I guess the solution is just breaking the silos, right? I think a lot of people work in silos. So we have startups who tell us that they can't find technical talent on the ground, but we're in a room where there's a lot of technical talent. And then we also have success stories that wouldn't be possible unless we have every single community and different stakeholders come together to make that successful. I think sometimes we lose sight that we're all working towards the same objective, and other agendas come into the way, and that's typically where it can be challenging. Whereas, again, if you're looking at the Western or the international, I guess, landscape, certain decks come to our sides where the due diligence is being asked to be done by NVIDIA, but we see VCs on the ground that can do it. So there's also like a lot of mistrust in the ecosystem, but I think events like this do a lot to like break that down.
I think it's a cultural thing, because in Africa, if you introduce a new technology, that means for decision makers, they need to restructure all the management or the information system they have. And what I discovered is that they don't want to be the first to do it. So they say, sell. If you sell, come back to me, and I will buy it.
Yeah.
In other countries, I would say Scandinavian countries, they are more brave to buy the first or introduce a new technology, and then we'll grow up with this technology doing partnership. So I think it's more about cultural thing. If they want to be the second one, not the first one to
Too high risk.
Yeah, no, they don't take this risk.
Yeah, I agree with all the points, and even the points that might be a lack of, technical expertise within, our institutions. But there's a flip side to this, and this is the West example I could use. But, all the president and government officials that backed Elizabeth Holmes did not understand what she was working on, and it turned out what she was working on was, BS. But the thing is, I think there's a pride element to it. There's, inferiority complex attached to it. There's this sense that, really, you mean like leading emerging tech stuff coming from like Ghana, coming from an African country? I don't think that's possible. It has to be, then they will ask you questions like, are you sure there are Americans, aren't Americans truly behind this? Aren't the co-founding team like actual Americans? Or are you sure you don't have Americans that are actually building the tech? And it's like, no. So there's all of those things are factors, but there's a pride and inferiority complex aspect to this to us. So we just don't, respect ourselves, are proud enough, and realize that we are capable of, amazing feats just like anyone else.
Hi. I have a question about if I learned anything from Timnit and Ulrich's talk, that there should be many North Stars to point your company and your goals toward. And I'm wondering, what is the vision and the North Star for your different companies, or for the ecosystem in general?
Did you get?
Did you catch the question?
No.
So I'll try and summarize, and let's see if I get it right. What are the North Stars for your individual companies or the ecosystem in general? I guess, what are you working towards?
Towards an observable uptick in the lives of Africans through technology, but kind of broadly.
So the motivation about the motivation about the startup. That's I liked the talk yesterday, and I was laughing because I'm using the same example of my grandmother in my pitch deck. It's one of the reasons is that why my grandmother, who never been at school, who cannot read or write, cannot have a bank account because she doesn't trust the bank, because there is papers and she doesn't understand the papers. Even if she was running a business, she was not using a bank. So it's a language barrier that we need to solve, and one way of solve it is like using the native language of the people, and the fintech or telco or company, they need to change their communication way, which is today based on French or English, which are native language for the people, and base their communication on native languages. It's not only my grandmother. There is statistics in Tunisia that kids between 6 and 12, they drop school. It's 100,000 per year. They drop school between the age of 6 and 12 since 2011. So this is like 12 years. It's more than 1,300,000 people. They have 20 years old today, but they cannot read or write in French or English. We need to talk to them only on their native language, in their communication with the administration, in the companies, to apply for a bank account, to open a business. Everything should be based on their native language.
So at our office, we have an artwork that, we designed internally, and it says, 100 million. So our target is to achieve 100 million diagnoses in 5 years, and that's what is driving us. Yeah.
And I think at our company, the core is developers and meeting them where they are. So whether that is in communities, enterprise, startups, or faculty, that's what we're looking forward to do. And we have several resources that we're doing that with, and happy to chat with anyone in the room later on. We also have like 2 of our other staff members who are here from the States. One of them focuses on university engagements, so she's happy to delve into more of that. And then we also have a Nigerian guy who's also here from the States, and he focuses on robotics, and he's a researcher at NVIDIA and a scientist, and he's also spent a lot of time, engaging with the ecosystem, mainly, again, developers. And most importantly as well, we're also very open to feedback, understanding what the actual needs are on the ground so that we can, constantly refine our approach.
So we have time for just one more question.
Sorry, I have a couple, but you can answer rapid fire. My name is Ian. Despite being from Matambo, I help run, I'm the machine learning engineer from a medical imaging startup helping to diagnose breast cancer in Kenya. Darlington, I have 2 questions for you. I know you're part of a UN board that helps define regulatory practice, best practices for AI. Lots of the problems we run into implementing ML interventions in Kenya are that the AUDA NEPAD certification hasn't been ratified by the UN, though it's been by the AU, though it's been going on for a few years. So I was wondering whether there's anything in the works to maybe help accelerate something that works with the ISO standard, because that goes quicker, and it's what's being used in Kenya right now. Also, to Fatima, we are part of the Inception program, but we spent about 7 days before you could start using the credits from NVIDIA that we so gratefully received, because we were using clusters in 8 different parts of the world, and there's only 4,000 H100s in the world, and everyone is trying to use them, and maybe Jade from Lelapa and Darlington can also chip in on this, about how their compute clusters work. But we ended up using some brute force automation to try across about 300 hours before we could start using NVIDIA's grants for compute. So are there any plans to maybe make a local cluster in Africa that we wouldn't have to queue across Tokyo and Frankfurt and US East that everyone in the world uses for? Or will we keep queuing like that? So 3 questions. Is there a local compute cluster that's coming to Africa? Is there a standard that's going to replace ISO from the UN, Darlington? And are there any strategies that you, Jade, at Lelapa and Darlington use for getting around the whole compute bottleneck? Thanks.
Yeah, those are really solid questions.
Yeah. Happy to start. So great to know that you're part of the Inception program. And when it comes to NVIDIA, we're platform companies. So when we provide data centers, we usually work with partners. For data centers that I know that are active, Liquid Telecom has one in the southern parts of Africa. So we would have to work with more partners regarding that. And also with the cloud credits, as you would know, we provide them through AWS and Google and so forth. So we would have to get the entire ecosystem involved to fulfill the requirements that you stated.
So the question about, because we are running out of time, but I think the question about standards, ISO, you are asking about just broadly standard for ML in health, ML for healthcare, or are you talking about certification, like regulatory certification, the latter part. Yeah, so there are standards. So basically the group that we have with WHO and ITU is creating those standards, and we've actually wrapped up a phase of the group. So they are all the standards. We've sent them to the member states on the health regulatory bodies. So working with, FDA in the US, NHS, and then IMDRF, and then there's a forum where all the health regulators in Africa are. We've shared all of this with them. The new phase of the group, where it's now gone beyond WHO and ITU and now become a broader UN AI for Health global initiative, we would then, because there's one thing to create this standard, there's one thing to get the health regulators to adopt them and use them. So we are working towards the implementation. The other tricky bit is this. So UN generally, and all of UN, AU, they don't have legal jurisdiction because nations are sovereign states, right? So you can create these standards, but you cannot impose it. And then you getting certification is on a national level. So even if you can get FDA certification from the US, but to get it working in Kenya, you still need regulatory approval from Kenya. Usually it will make it easier if you have from, FDA US, because there's, rankings and that they put all of these health regulators in. So that's that bit. So there's a standard out there. We've published. If you go to the ITU website and you create an account, you can access all of these standards. They are now probably, we've been working on this for a few years. The documents in total will be 4,000 pages of several documents. So you can just pick and choose the aspect that you are interested in. For the, computer aspect, you're right. We've run into the same issue. Even A100s are, hard to come by on AWS and stuff like that. Even V100s with AGPUs are quite difficult to come by. You have to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. So our solution now is, set up on-prem cluster, which is expensive, but in the long term it's actually cheaper, and then, that's what works. So there's a rush for GPUs. And one last point, then I move it, I leave. So one cool thing, Senegal is creating an HPC that they would allow, oh, you are from Kenya, that they are going to allow all startups in West Africa to access for free. This is something we're discussing at the AUD NEPA, the Continental AI Strategy. We're discussing with, the various groups to see if we can encourage this in the different countries. Senegal is already planning to do that. I'm hoping, in East Africa, that would also be done. Governments have a bunch of, these data centers and HPCs and stuff. They are underutilized. If they could open it up for startups to use, either for free or subsidized, that would be great. So Senegal is already planning to do that. So if you relocate to West Africa, you can use it for free.
To add on to the GPU nightmare, can we have some more? Are they building more? Are they even making them? Why is there such a thing? Are we building more data centers? I do know that there are some data centers where they are installing more GPUs. So there's the Microsoft Azure data center in Johannesburg. They're currently installing GPUs, or they have, if I'm not mistaken. So there will be at least one on the continent that has GPUs. There's another HPC, I think it's the one in Cape Town, and I think they actually are quite open across Africa. Someone from them is here and actually mentioned in one of the startup talks about it, that he'd be happy to talk to startups who are in need of that. And other than that, it's been literally just a nightmare of chasing and knowing people, and people that you meet at places like the Indaba. We've got some great partners who either work at Google or work at Microsoft, who might know who to talk to work on some sort of shared plan. I know the TPU team, TPU research group are here as well. Jonathan is around. They also can help, but it's at this point scrounging. It's a nightmare. I think the way we've kind of calmed ourselves is to really plan and be very strategic about what we're training, because you kind of want to train a lot at once. You want to be able to, you prototype fast, and that means you've got to try lots of strategies, and it's really kind of changed the way we have to think. You'd be like, okay, cool, this takes a week to 2 weeks to train. We only have 2 machines available that we've managed to get. What experiments are we running? And let's do more error analysis and more of that. And so that's been our kind of short-term solution, is becoming very clever about what we choose to train when and ensuring we're trying to train in the most optimal way.
And Hatem, do you have any insights in light of the GPU crunch?
Yeah, I agree completely with Jade. Don't go to train a lot of data at the beginning. You can.
Yeah.
That's where R&D is good. Is that you have a snapshot of the data, small. You can do the training local, see, modify your model by parameters, and then at the end you go to the cloud and train your whole model. And we are partnered with NVIDIA, and it's working fine for us.
Okay. Let's do parting shots. What would you say to someone who wants to build an AI startup in Africa? Everybody, just 2 sentences really briefly, and then we can wind up.
Do the thing, it's fun. Come join the community. We have a very strong community of research, but I think we need a strong community of startups. We already see support from having the couple that we've had in the space for a while, and I find the startup community is equally as collaborative as the research community in a way that you might not get from large enterprise. So definitely come join, it's fun.
Yeah, yesterday I was thinking why we don't have a syndicate of African startups, because in Africa I think we don't need to wait for government's rules to change. It's startups who are creating the ecosystems, are pushing these ecosystems. If you are young, there is plenty of things to do in Africa. You are lucky to have plenty of problems in Africa to solve, but in the same time, the motivation is the key word. Is your motivation? I saw the posters. There is plenty of nice things to solve, and there is plenty of things that you can do. With the motivation, you can reach this goal.
Yeah, I think we live in the most exciting time in human history. We are getting to rewrite the rules of what it means to have a civilization, what it even means to be human. And as mentioned, we have the biggest set of challenges in Africa, and I strongly believe in about 5 years, Africa will be seen as one of the strong leading competitors in the AI race. So this is the best time for you to get involved in AI. Just pick up something very, very bold, a tough challenge, and go with very bold, ambitious ideas. Moonshot and go for it.
Similar to Darlington, I think that when it comes to AI, the only limitation is really our imagination. And most importantly, I think in Kofi Datsi's keynote, he spoke about staying close to research and academia, but staying close to the problem that you're trying to fix is equally important, right? So I think that's my parting words.
Okay, thank you all. We are at time. So thank you to the panelists and to the audience. And I'm now going to hand over back to our MC.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I hope you are all having an exciting session. So my name is Rakiba, and I would like to say a very big thank you to all our panelists for an educative and insightful discussion. So moving forward, we are going to have a pitch session. We have a number of startups in our midst who are going to pitch some rich and educative ideas to us today. So the first startup, we have Timothy K. Efrain Wo Asari and Daniela Darlington from Copianto AI. Each and every startup has 5 minutes to finish their pitching. So can we give them a round of applause?
Hi, everyone. Hello, can you hear me? Great. So my name is Timothy Afrani Buwasari. I'm Ghanaian, and I'm from Copianto AI, the CEO. I'm here with Daniela Darlington, my co-founder. I'm waiting for the slides. Okay. So just to get started, something fun. Why Copianto? So Copianto basically is a Ghanaian slang that's used to describe when someone copies something. So let's say you're a student, and then you are copying other people, or you are looking at other people's work to get something done, right? That's the meaning of Copianto. It's a Ghanaian word. So we started Copianto early on as a content generation platform. So generative AI for copies, content, anything that you can think of. That's why we called it Copianto. Now, something interesting that we learned along the line was, this was before ChatGPT. And I think a lot of the things that the panelist, Darlington, said was something that we could resonate with. So just imagine someone in Ghana saying they've built a platform that works exactly like ChatGPT, but this was before ChatGPT. And everyone is like, are you sure this works? Does it even work? You know, so it's a lot of frustration trying to do something here, especially once it's not something that's out there, and it's not something that has a lot of validation from outside Africa. So it's really difficult. And one of the things, that's not the most interesting thing that we learned. The other thing that we learned was that, I mean, generating content or generative AI was just like the starting point, right? It's just like the leap into what and everything that you can do with AI. I'm still waiting for the slides. I'm not sure if, yeah. So the other thing that we learned was that this was before ChatGPT. So bear in mind, generative AI was quite new. People being able to use AI to create content and all that. So we had a lot of people asking, how do we use this thing within our platform, right? I don't want to come to your platform only to generate something. So is there a way you can use this thing in their own apps? So we actually built quite a simplified version of Copianto that they could just integrate and embed into their own platforms. And the other thing that we learned was that people are like, okay, we are generating content, this is really cool, but we have a lot of data. How can we use this thing on our own data so that we can generate something that is informative about our company? So that led us to something else. And what we realized was that we definitely could do that and get our platform to work with your data. But the interesting thing was that people started giving us images, videos, all those sort of unstructured data, right? And it was really difficult to work with. So we spent quite some time to look into, what it really means to work with unstructured data. And I think it's not just an African or Ghanaian thing. According to a research, by 2025, 80 to 90% of all the data in the world will be unstructured, which is a very big problem. So we started thinking about how we can use our platform to actually solve this. Right, great. Try to go back. Okay. So we started looking at how we can actually use our platform to solve this problem. So we built a platform, Copianto. We are now looking into enterprise search. So basically what we do is that for any organization or enterprise that have a lot of data, it can be unstructured. We take all this unstructured data and then we train a model that's able to create a knowledge graph around this data that you are going to give us. So it's unstructured data, we create knowledge graph around it. And this knowledge graph, we try to match the query that anybody wants to find. But because it's unstructured, sometimes it's very difficult. Then what we do in that instance is that we use generative AI to find the best matching response that makes sense. And we've been experimenting this for quite some time, and it's really interesting. And these are like just an idea of what vector search and some of these things could do. But some of the use cases that we are exploring currently is, just imagine you go on any website or app. Usually, if you want to find any information, you use keyword search, right? You search for something. And the most interesting thing is that 80% of every information that you're looking for is available, but you are just going to get links. Like, just say you go to any university website and you are trying to find information about admission, or you ask a question. you are just going to get links and you have to spend time looking at this thing. So the first use case that we're exploring is basically using this for very interesting search ways. So you take a lot of unstructured data, and then what we are doing is building conversational search around it. So you can just search for anything that you are looking for, and then we use generative AI and this knowledge graph that we've created on your data to basically return results that make sense to you. And you can use this within a chat. You can use it for search and all those things. The other thing that, other use case that we've seen people trying to use this is within any app, you have a lot of data, and then you can use this as a co-pilot. So you can use it as a, let's say you have a sales team that you do a lot of meetings and lead closing, so you want to close leads and then qualify leads quickly. You can use this to actually know how to actually close leads faster, and it helps you just like your personal assistant. And for us, the most interesting thing for us is basically taking any data, it can be structured, unstructured, and then we are able to use conversational search to help you embed this into any like platform that you have, right? And we are exploring this for a lot of use cases. And the biggest culprit that we can think of is when you take government agencies. They have a lot of data, and usually it's really difficult for people that need this data to actually find and make sense or use of it. And so we are looking at how we can, working with government to solve some of these issues. When you take something like agriculture as well, there's a lot of data that people need for data on like maybe diseases and all that. And the interesting thing is that a lot of people and the stakeholders that are in that space have a lot of data on this, but it's not available to the end users in the format and the channels that they can actually find it and use it. So these are some of the things that we are doing, and we are very happy to work with anyone and partners, investors to make data more available, discoverable, and it can be any data. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Timothy. So the second startup we have, Mazuma GPT, and Ni Osai and Kofi Jenfi. Please, let's give them a round of applause.
It's been a long day. I hope everybody still has energy for the rest of the day. Thank you to Deep Learning Indaba for this opportunity to share what we are doing with you. Could I have the slides so that I go through them? Okay. By the way, I'll just give a short introduction about myself. My name is Kofi Jenfi. I'm one of the co-founders of a company called Mazuma, and I'm here with my co-founder as well called Neosign. Do we have it now? Okay, so just a bit of background on the name Mazuma. Fun fact, is actually an English word that means money. It's actually in the dictionary. We just gave it, should I say, a little bit of an iteration with one more Z just to give it some uniqueness. But the whole concept of why we gave it that name was to try and redefine how value exchange moves around the world in various forms. So yes, there we go. So we are Mazuma. Our focus is primarily on building development tools and payment APIs for both developers and for organizations. We have a rich history in doing this over the past 5 years. Maybe some of you here might be already familiar with our products or have interacted with them. We were doing this primarily for the Web2 space as well. But as time went on, we realized that there's a lot of, should I say, demand coming from the Web3 space, and we could provide some of these solutions and tools to the Web3 environment. So what's the problem we identified? As you can see over here, there are some developers who are sweating. And what we realized was it's very, very difficult, one, to build in the Web3 space, one, because there's such a huge knowledge gap. And that's what's being defined by difficulty in building smart contracts. So one, is expensive, it's time consuming, and the learning curve is really steep. For those who have any exposure to the Web3 space, if you try and hire a developer globally who can give you world-class Solidity code, you know, they are really gonna cost you a lot of money. You know, there was actually a job posting that came out a couple of months ago, and it was literally about $1 million for the annual comp. So we realized that this is because it's a fast-growing market, a very huge market in this space. In 2022 alone was $5 billion, but it's rapidly increasing, and we just, you know, subtly estimate that it will be about a $10 billion market, but it could even be bigger. With this in mind, we then built Mazuma GPT. Very simply, build Web3 applications using AI. You can customize your code very easily, put your prompt, use a custom large language model, which we fine-tuned with the help of some partners I'm going to list later, and just go straight to building our application. And this only costs $1.99 to use. Another part of it is we have an open source component whereby you can contribute to our code base and also earn digital tokens. This is 10 times more affordable, and we also have some compatibility with IDs. Now, for those who are interested, you can scan this as I talk, but this is quite a simple demo of how it works. You just go in, put in your prompt, and we literally spit out the code for you. Very easy interface. You copy the interface, you copy the code, sorry, put it in your IDE, wherever you want to build in or whatever development environment you're comfortable in, and then you can launch your applications. What does a competitive landscape look like? The only real competitor we see globally is GitHub Copilot, but this is focused on being an auto-completion tool rather than being a code generation tool from scratch. And then one thing that we realized is because they did data scraping on an entire code base on GitHub, both average, smart, and should I say relatively dumb developers' code is shoved into the model. But I think for most of us who know over here, when it comes to data quality, if you feed garbage into the model, you're going to get garbage. So that's a lot of, you know, one of the things that we realized with one of our competitors. And then this then limits the coding capacity of other developers. So coming to us, we launched this product just on 15 June. So far we have users in about 80 countries across the world, and we've generated over 5,000 code samples. We have a stellar list of partners, Ethereum Foundation, Cardano Foundation. We work with these people hand in hand from the start. Adaverse, NVIDIA. You know, NVIDIA, we need to give them a round of applause because they've done so much for so many people. I mean, it's been amazing. And then some of them are some of our commercial partners and funding and the like. This picture is a picture that we really like to talk about. That's Vitalik Buterin, and we told him about our project in February when we were, you know, putting it together. Absolutely loved it, and then even gave us some things which we added to our technical white paper. He contributed to it. Unfortunately, it's really hard to get him to smile. So that's the farthest we could get, but maybe next time we'll get it to some good level. That's just a snapshot of me and my co-founder, and we have a total team size of 16 people, and some of the few things that we've been able to achieve over the years. That in particular, AIAG, Artificial Intelligence Association of Ghana, and we have one, and we are looking to also partner with other associations across Africa. So that is all. Thank you very much, and it was lovely sharing our business with you.
Thank you so much, Niosai. And we have Dr. George Jojo Boateng and Nana Sam Yeboah from Kwame AI. Please let's give them a round of applause.
Hi everyone, my name is Jojo, and today I'll be presenting on Kwame AI, which is my startup. We're building AI assistants for the future of education and work. So I'll talk a bit about some of the products that we've built, just kind of go over on a high level on the different products that we've built. But maybe to start off, yeah, so Kwame AI's mission is to empower learners and knowledge workers with their own personal knowledge assistants to basically improve their outcomes and productivity. So what does that really entail? So towards that end, we have a number of products and initiatives. So this is pretty much a summary of it, but I'm just going to go into details for each of them. So the first one is Sian Code, which started basically in 2017. So in 2017, we used to run a summer program in Ghana where we teach high school and university students things like computer programming. But that year, we didn't have enough laptops to basically teach students. But we saw from our pre-survey that out of our 27 students, only 25% had laptops, yet 100% had smartphones. So we basically modified our programming course and made it all work on a smartphone. So basically, our students learned to code on a smartphone. Students were, building a porn game all on their phone. They were in traffic coding. And it was this amazing experience. So we were like, wait, this is way too cool to just remain as part of this in-person. This in-person. Okay, yeah. Part of this in-person program. So, let's take it out and put it online. So that's what we did, and we called it Sian Code. So Sian Code consists of two words, Sian, which means to learn, and code. So that's pretty much the name. And so that's what we did in 2018. So we created this online course so that we could enable students across all of Africa, right? Because this issue of limited access to computers is not just a Ghanaian problem. So that's what we did in 2018. And then between 2018 and 2020, we ran a number of cohorts that had over 2K learners across 42 African countries. And we then used the learnings to then build our own platform, this Sian Code app, which is currently on the Play Store, which you can actually go download it. So basically how Sian Code works is that we run monthly cohorts where students can enroll into the course, and then they can basically, access lesson notes which they can read offline. We use lesson notes instead of videos because data is really expensive across Africa, so students can just read the lesson notes. And then they can then, work on their coding assignments and get feedback from our AI system that we've built that, grades their assignments and gives them feedback. We also have a forum where students can post questions and get answers from their own peers and facilitators. And also we have an AI teaching assistant in there that basically answers students' questions to basically help us scale. And we also have a leaderboard to kind of encourage students to help each other. So what has the impact been like? So we launched the Sian Code app at the start of January 2022. We've had over 2.2K learners across 42 African countries, 110 globally, 4.5K ratings on the Play Store. And the impact has really been tangible. A lot of my former students are studying computer science and engineering in a lot of prestigious institutions, and they've gotten a lot of jobs in all these cool places, which is really always cool to look back and see. So having built Sian Code and having this AI teaching assistant in there, we realized that this AI could also be used for general education. So that's what we did. We created this platform, Kwame AI, which is a web app that basically answers students' questions in the science curriculum. So how it works is that we have two features. So the first is question answering. So when a student comes to our platform, they can put in a question, and our AI system basically provides an answer based on well-curated knowledge source. And the cool part is that it also returns questions that are related to the question that has been put in. So let's say you ask what is photosynthesis, or bring up all the questions over the past 30 years that have been asked on this topic in a different way. And the other bit is that we also have a topic detection system here. So as part of the learning process, students usually want to learn by topic. So what we did is we trained an AI system to classify 30 years of the science curriculum into one of the 50 topics, which would have been really difficult to do if we had human teachers do it. So that's another way we're using AI in Kwame. Yeah. So what has the traction been like? Over the past like a year and a half, we've had 750 users across 32 countries, and we had a 87% helpfulness score in terms of rating, which has been pretty cool to see. So another platform that we are working on, so this is a new initiative that we started, so NSMQ AI. So basically building an AI to compete in Ghana's National Science and Math Quiz competition and win against humans. I won't spend much time talking about it today because we'll be talking about the details of this in a session on Saturday, so you can check it out, the Nexus workshop. But basically, there's this competition which is really popular in Ghana where 3 teams of 2 students compete against each other in various answering questions in various science fields. And basically, what we're doing is we want to build an AI to compete and win against humans. So this year, our focus is pretty much on the last round, which is the riddle section. Okay. I have a demo here. I don't know if it's going to work. Okay. All right. You can check out the session on Saturday to see. Okay. So another initiative that we started, Africa AI, which is basically this workshop to kind of start a movement, to start a conversation, and also encourage people to create AI technologies to that advance education in Africa. So we ran the first workshop 2 months ago in Google Research Ghana, and the hope is to keep running this so that we have more people building AI technologies in the area of education for Africans. Okay. And finally, so one other platform that we've built called Esquire, which is basically to help lawyers have an AI assistant for their work. I also have a video here, but I also don't think it's going to play. But basically how it works is that a lawyer can come to our platform, ask a question, and then our AI basically provides an answer based on cases that we've curated. Yeah, so basically to help them easily find answers to their questions. Okay. Oh, okay. Anyway, I think my slides, these are not my most recent slides, but anyway, it's all right. My team, we've gotten a bunch of recognition for our work, which has been pretty cool to see. And beyond all that recognition, the key thing that we're going for is the impact that we're trying to make. So we're trying to make impact targeting these 3 SDGs. So first, quality education. So we're enabling students to have accessible, high-quality education through our platforms, Siancode and Kwame AI, and then decent economic growth. So for that, you know, when students get access to these skills, they can get jobs, which they can then have improved economic prospects. And for justice, we're enabling lawyers to, you know, easily get answers to questions as they work on their cases, and they can, you know, help their clients and provide justice for all. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. George. Moving forward, we have Olaleye Inola and Africa Perienes from Casual Foundry, Inc. Please let's give them a round of applause.
Hi. So introduce to you Causal Foundry. So in Causal Foundry, all we try to do is to democratize AI to solve some of the largest problems in healthcare using artificial intelligence, personalized to user needs. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Eniola, and I work as a data scientist at Causal Foundry. So the problem we are trying to address in Causal Foundry is the lack of personalization in healthcare. So if you look at imagine a world where each individual unique needs is not tailored. So if you look at some problems, so I'm going to be taking the recommended daily allowance for nutrient as an example. If you look at protein, it is recommended for teenagers to take about 34 grams of protein. So this does not tailor to their unique traits, does not tailor to their lifestyle or their background. And this can result in a lot of problems. So how are we solving this problem in Causal Foundry? So we research and build machine learning products that personalize to each. So we research and build machine learning products that is personalized to adapt to each individual unique traits, their lifestyle, and even their culture. So we also do precision nudging. This is personalizing recommendation and providing adaptive intervention. So at the core of our business is interventions, emphasis on interventions. So the personalized recommendation helps in improvement of treatment adherence. So some people know that it is actually good to exercise, but you have to nudge them before they actually exercise. Then also self-management of chronic diseases. Our nudging helps with this also. Then for health establishment like clinics and pharmacies, prediction of demand to reduce drug stock out. So we built a platform already that simplifies the process of intervention we sent. So apart from our platform being a standalone platform, our platform have the ability to integrate to health records and also existing apps. Then we are also cautious with the kind of data we use for our platform because you know an AI system is as good as the data you use to train it. So I'm going to walk you through the life cycle of our platform. First of all, you have to integrate into our platform via the SDK. After the integration is done, we have your data in our system. Then our platform is able to create unique out-of-the-box traits. So our platform is able to create unique out-of-the-box traits. Then we also have AI-powered enrichment tool that is able to generate unique traits from your data to be able to personalize healthcare to you that is tailored to your unique needs. Then also personalize and adaptive intervention. Like I said, the core of our business is intervention. Then we have in-app and push notification, recommendation also to users. So who are the beneficiaries of our technology? At the center of our interventions are patients. Then also we have healthcare providers like midwives, pharmacists, and community health workers. So we have a very strong presence here in Africa. We have some partners here in Ghana. I'm from Nigeria, so we have a lot in Nigeria. We have in Rwanda, Angola, and South Africa. So that is all. Thank you. And also we are hiring, so you can just check us out and see. And we are also looking for partners as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Inola. I believe we are all learning a lot from this session. So moving on, we have Ochiri Kofi. Moving on, we have Ochiri Kofi Cephas and Cephas Kofi Chire from Gap Health Technologies. Please let's give them a round of applause.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm very sure you've all been victims of longer hospital queues. On most occasions, you go to the hospitals, and when you change your hospitals, your new doctor will ask you for your past health record. And on most occasions, you don't have. These are sometimes things that we all go through as individuals living in Africa especially. My name is Kopsifas from Gab Health. One of the major issues that we at Gab Health we're trying to solve, I'm not sure if the clicker is working. Okay, good. So one of the major problems that we at Gab Health we are trying to solve is lack of continuum of health care and an easy access to health care, where we've been able to Okay, cool. So we've been able to build a web-based interface and a mobile app that is very high on security and privacy. That is basically our ultimate goal. And it offers remote health care, where we are very high on health tracking, and it has a very easy payment gateway as well. I don't know why I'm going back. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. So our solution is currently on a web-based app where you have 100% opportunity to customize everything based on the organizational needs. We are currently on the iOS and on the Android platforms as well. And then why do you think it's the perfect time? It's the perfect time for us because digital health is here to stay. And then we are in the age of AI, where very, very good data, we'll be able to give personalized health solutions. We are democratizing quality of healthcare, and there's a tremendous increase in smartphone penetration in Africa, where will be a very good opportunity for people to tap into remote healthcare and the use of AI. Our total available market size stands at 4.67 billion, where our serviceable available market is 132 million, and we are looking at obtaining 19.8 million out of this share. Who are our target market? We have Gab Health. We've grouped our target market into 4 segments. The health organization, which consists of hospitals, clinics, and then the health providers, which consists of doctors, private nurses, midwives, among other people, and then the patient. So the patient mostly uses the service provided by the health organizations and the health providers. And we have researchers who uses the data with permissions to be able to use them for their research purposes. Our competitors are Helium Health, BISA, among others. But then our competitive advantage that we have over our competitors is the fact that we are very, very well integrated, we are decentralized, and then we are disease diagnostics, and we are very powered with AI, where with very good data, we can be able to give you personalized health recommendations. Our unique selling propositions has always been the fact that we save you enough time for you to use our service to be able to enjoy a video engagement in form of consultation with a health provider. We are also continuous of health care, where your new doctor wouldn't ask you for your past health records. And we are also very keen on data analysis. We currently have close to 1,000 active patients on our system, and then who are being served by 49 health providers. We've done over 100 telehealth appointments already. We are currently in 3 hospitals. We are in 2 countries, that is the Gambia and the Ghana. And then we currently have 1 health research institution using our service. How do you make revenue as a company? So we charge $200 for organizations to use our system, where they get the opportunity to customize it based on their needs. Health providers pay $20 per month, or they pay a commission based on the amount of money they make. And then for patients like most of us here, it's relatively free. You only get to pay for the consultation when you receive health consultation from a medical provider. With our team, we have Mercy and Bintu, who co-founded Gab Health in 2019. We have Adjoa and then Naomi from Ghana and Gambia as our programs coordinator, respectively. We have Emanuela as our social media manager, and I'm the marketing lead for the team. Our road plan has been that for the first quarter of this year, we've been optimizing and implementing our marketing strategy. We are currently looking at implementing machine learning algorithms into our system. Next year, first and second quarter next year, we are looking at integrating with the labs and pharmacies, and we also look at integrating home deliveries, where you can be able to have medical kits and test kits and other drugs delivered to you. This is a demo. I don't know if it will play, but let's see. Oh, okay. So the demo couldn't play. In view of this, we are trying to bring healthcare closer to everyone. And I urge everyone here that when you are from here, just go to the App Store or the Google Play Store, search for Gap Health app, and then download it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cephas. So moving forward, we have Yusra Farhani and Aisha Uwada from Enzyme Prediction, and they are the last startup on our list. Please let's give them a round of applause.
So hello everyone, you can hear me? Is this? It is working? Okay. I can use the mic.
Hello, hello. Yes, working. So.
This way. Hello everyone, can you hear me? Okay. Welcome everyone to this presentation. Actually, this presentation is a part of the industry demo presentations, but yeah, it's a promising idea for a startup. So the basic idea of this project is the enzyme prediction using our product, which is PredEC. As you know, cancer is one of the dangerous diseases that kills each year 1 out of 6 people. And one of the problems that most of, let's say, doctors and specialists face with cancer is that chemotherapy don't target only the cancer cells. It targets also cells with no cancer, like healthy cells. And that cause a lot of problems, a lot of issues for people who are doing their chemotherapy. And this is why our product came for. So researchers in the University of Cambridge, they found out that plants can exhibit a certain enzymatic activity, which is EC3.2.2.22. And this enzymatic activity actually can segment the cancer cells. It can target them directly. And as a part of this research, my supervisor from Cambridge University gave us a data set, which was like a data set that kind of complicated to be explored, but it was able to give us results to see whether this type of protein can exhibit certain enzymatic activities. Now, this product is mostly targeting labs and not like normal user or normal customers. Why? Because people in labs take months to do that process of analyzing sequences of protein to see whether this protein can exhibit certain enzymatic activity. And this costs money. For that, our product, PredEC, came for. So PredEC is a simple web platform with a really simple user interface and user experience where scientists in labs can just input the shortlisted protein sequence that they are interested to see whether they exhibit certain enzymatic activity. They receive rapid and accurate predictions about the enzymatic activity. And now we're specifically focusing on the EC 3.2.2.22, which targets cancer cells. But for scalability, we can work on more enzymatic activity that can be done using protein annotation. So for how it works, basically we work using EnterproScan script for lab data pre-processing. After that, we use the protein BERT adjusted model in order to get our results. So for the solution, unfortunately, the video is not working here, but if you're interested, just shout out for me. If you see me around, I can show you the demo. So we used like 4 proteins that biologists are interested in recently in the lab, and we're able to predict with higher accuracy whether these proteins can exhibit this type of enzymatic activity. And this is the interface of PredEC. So you just have to enter like a sequence of amino acids, and it can see whether this sequence can exhibit that type of enzymatic activity. Actually, when you scroll down in this platform, you can see also like more information about the sequence of protein provided by the user in the input. Plus, you can see whether like the sequence of protein, from where can we start like using or figuring out which amino acids are being used in this enzymatic activity. And yeah, for future perspective, we wanted to make the project more scalable, since now we had data for only like several proteins, but not that much, and we're targeting only one enzymatic activity. And yeah, thank you so much. This project was a part of my research internship actually, and it was made by me, Yusra Farhani, and my colleague Aisha Wadah. We're from Algeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aisha. That ends our pitch session. I believe we are all learning. In fact, we have learned a lot right from our panelists to our presenters and our pitchers. Thank you so much. And I'll call on Kathleen to give us the closing remarks. Please let's give her a round of applause.
Hi, everyone. I have the pleasure of giving the closing remarks, and I will be brief. In narrating the narrative, in narrating how we got here, in my own words, I'll say that the Indaba as a platform started out with a mission of strengthening machine learning in Africa, and this has evolved from the first event to what we have today. When we started, the track was one single track, and the focus was on giving foundational skills. But today we've really diversified, and in my opinion, this diversification is as a result of building a critical mass. There's enough individuals who have the basic skills, they're starting to gain an interest in niche areas, and now they're building more and more in NLP, in computer vision, and in various fields. Coming into the startup landscape, we're now starting to see a lot more interest in individuals who would like to go beyond the research and take that research to productization. I love it for us that we also have a precedence of an AI exit in the ecosystem. And I believe that in coming years, this space will continue to grow as we, as the Indaba, continue to build this muscle of supporting and manufacturing startups. So I'm ending on a really hopeful note. I enjoyed seeing all of the pitches and the conversation in the panel and the keynote. And I'd like to, I guess, see the vision of building a collective for African AI startups happen. Let's do it our way. Thank you.
Thank you all for making this a success, and we will see you around.
So I'm back wearing my program committee hat. We have about 10 minutes until the next session begins in this room. So feel free to go grab a coffee, but we're working to start at 4:30 p.m. So please come back in time for that. Thank you.